Man, just getting settled back into the groove here. Just made it back from Baja, Mexico for the 2020 53rd annual Baja 1000 race with my friends at the Kangaroo race team. I met up with Mr. Rodney down there in Las Vegas on day 2 of my trip. So I guess backing things up here, where to start. Here we are, people, heading down through Salt Lake City. So we're gonna do a strategic truck and trailer drop down in Salem outside of Spanish Fork at a friend's house, trying to get out of town to beat a storm. Super psyched. It's been quite a challenge these last few days logistically to get everything sorted out. And then tomorrow I'm gonna meet up with Rodney in Las Vegas, and then we're gonna continue south, try to cross the border, meet up with the gang. The rest of the convoy should essentially be somewhere around 6 or 7 trucks that we're going to meet up with. So it's kind of a split trip, 2 motorcycles and a bunch of off-road rigs, racing team chase trucks. So dude, it's going to be a freaking epic trip, dude. About 8 days in Mexico and the Baja 1000 and then the trip back. So it's going to be pretty insane. Later. First thing I want to say is I'm super grateful and super thankful for being part of the race team. I mean, this group of guys, this is their 7th or 8th Baja 1000 race. And this group of guys is just a super tight-knit group of dudes, and they're just top-level people who are so friendly, so welcoming, and so inviting. And it's really fun because there's a lot of banter that goes on between everybody, but it's damn funny. So I think Rodney, he made comments throughout the whole trip that he just couldn't believe. He said, "I think you've pretty well weeded out all the assholes. There's like not a single asshole in the group," and that's truly the case. I mean, all these guys are just so much fun to be around all the time, day or night, no matter where we're at. Every single challenge that we're faced with is an opportunity to overcome and work together. And oh man, I'm just very grateful that they would have me along for this trip once again. So this was my 3rd trip. First one was in 2017, and here we are in 2020. So that race is something else, man. This year we went down a few days in advance, well ahead of the race, and got to explore around the Baja Peninsula a little bit. But man, once the race kicks off, before I really go into the whole story of it, it just trips me out how intense the race course is. It's 1,000 miles. This year it was 898 miles. It varies each year. Sometimes it's well over 1,000 miles. Sometimes it's a little bit less, but generally roughly 1,000 every year. But the terrain that they drive these things on is just unimaginable. It really is. It is so grueling on the vehicles. The suspension, the components, the tires, the undercarriage, all the bushings, the steering, the engine. I mean, every single aspect of it is just absolutely demanding. And it's just kind of hard to wrap your mind around the abuse that these things go through. That would be like driving from northern Utah to Ensenada, Mexico, off-road, screaming, hauling ass the whole way there, and doing it in 39 hours. It's impossible to wrap your mind around, to be honest with you. So I just have to take pause and think about it for a minute, that a lot of work and effort goes into this event and this race, but when it's really hammer down time and the wheels are turning and all the moving pieces are going and everybody's working together, it's hard to imagine the distance that's covered and the duration and the endurance of this race. So with that, let's talk about a little bit about some of the how things went. Yeah, it started off with getting the motorcycle loaded up and put on the trailer, and then I dropped the truck off at a friend's house. Thank you very much, Mr. Kemp. Roll. This will be her first long-range outing on the Moto, so pretty excited to try those out. We're packed pretty light today. At some point I'm going to get a big large duffel for up top, but for now hard box will work just fine. And that's it, we are underway. Man, that morning that I took off from there, it was like pretty cold. It was like 40 degrees. And it worked out really good. In the end, I was able to come all the way back home in mid-40s temperatures back to the truck and trailer on that last day, which was yesterday. And kind of skirted right through the weather systems that are coming and going. So anyway, I cruised all the way across the state of Utah, all the way down to St. George, and stayed at a place down there. And this was the first time I was using the Moto backcountry system on the motorcycle, and sure makes it convenient to just bring the luggage and gear, slide it right off of the bike and just bring it into the room with you. So here's the room. And I had a appointment, so I thought, to get my driver's license renewed down there in St. George. And I planned my whole morning around that, and then my departure, I left later in the morning instead of cruising down to Vegas to meet up with Rodney, but until later. So I end up going over to the damn driver's license division and stand around waiting for the appointment for like 30 minutes, waiting for them to open their office. Finally, the time comes. I go in there, I'm peering in the doors. Over the next 10 minutes, I'm cruising around the whole building looking for people to come. Is anybody going to come to work today? I'm getting pissed off because the thing is, my freaking driver's license had expired. So I was pretty paranoid that I wasn't going to be able to make it back across the border. It turned out it wasn't a problem. But yeah, I wasn't able to get my freaking appointment because the online system let me make an appointment for the day prior. So anyway, the online system was total joke, and finally it dawned on me that, oh, it's Saturday. This isn't going to happen. And there we were, man. Hadn't seen Rodney since the Colorado trip. And we just met at a fuel stop out there by the freeway, not far from his place. And shit, man, we were underway. We did not waste any time. You pretty psyched?
Yes.
Where are we going?
Baja, baby.
Woo!
Mexico.
Heck yeah, dude. Andale, arriba. Then we motored right through Las Vegas on the freeway, and that's his whole stomping ground, so it was pretty neat. So that town is huge, and it is very impressive. I swear, there's more and more skyscrapers going up, short skyscrapers going up every time I pass through there. It's really a booming town, and it's just a lot of fun. I can see why he likes living down there. But we got south of town, headed across the Mojave Desert, and dude, we were motoring. We were hauling butt. Cruised right through Searchlight, got down to Needles, and then we were making our way to the border. And we're making our way to the border crossing in Mexicali. Dude, sunset, man. Prime freaking sunset, actually. So we're about an hour and a half away from the border crossing. What do you think about this ride so far, bro?
It's awesome. I dig Southern California, the Mojave Preserve and all that shit. We're running around, pretty sweet.
Dude.
It's perfect weather too, right?
Yeah, it is nice. Super freaking nice out here. International border crossing right there. Have you ever crossed over into Mexico?
My first time. I actually didn't leave the country until I went to Canada last year. Hopefully they let me in.
So we get down there, we follow the map to get us into town, and of course it takes us to the wrong one of two gates. We reach the guard shack, and he's like, "What? Can I help you?" And he's like, "Oh no, this border's closed. This border crossing's closed. You need to go into town over to the other one." The way, and we're like, "Oh my god, okay." So we were kind of worried about COVID restrictions and this and that, and nope. Before you knew it, they were just waving us through, and before you knew it, we were across the border. And the next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, we are in Mexico. Not even so much as a stop. So that was pretty rad. And at this point, we're meeting up with the Kangaroo race team, and we are well ahead of them. Cruised into town, didn't get too far away from the gate, and made it into Mexicali through the Calexico border. Fortunately, there was no troubles with that. Just a minor snafu of trying to get to the right damn border crossing, but here we are. We're in Mexico, people. Waiting for the gang to arrive. Should be here in like 30-40 minutes. Get a drink, and then we're gonna motor into town and get some tacos for dinner. It wasn't too long before our crew showed up, so that was kind of hectic. We had 4 trucks and our 2 bikes all converging, and we're kind of cruising around town trying to find an ATM so everybody can get as many, get the pesos out. And it was a lot of bumper to bumper, shuffling around, turning around, over here, up there, around the back way, over here. And then, dude, it was like 2 hours or so of straight up hauling ass across the desert at night in convoy with the crew down past San Felipe. These guys knew of a super rad camp, super rad beach spot right there on the beach with awesome place to hang your hammocks or pitch your tents right on the shore, dude. And dang, that was the first night we camped. George had his black light, so we were going and looking for scorpions and shit. And sure as shit, man, we found a couple scorpions right next to camp. So that was super interesting. I'd never seen that before. But the tide was really high then, and the tide kind of goes out a long way. I don't know, a few hundred yards probably. But the tide was super high. It was probably up 20 feet or more. And there was all that bioluminescent algae blooms coming in on the waves. And then as I laid down to go to bed, it was super nice to hear the waves, but then look out and in the darkness just see the white cresting waves were illuminated glowing blue each wave that came by. It was absolutely out of this world, man. Yeah, the next day woke up to the sunrise. It was so cool. Yeah, so we'll pick this up after for day 2 next.